If revolution was a movie, I'd be theme music. Time to ignite what I spit is lighter fluid. Stepping into it, fist raised, such a glorious design. Marching into the biggest fight of our lives. Time to spoil the
revolution. Welcome to the BLKFLA experience. We are the cultural archive for the Black political movement in the state of Florida, where our purpose is to help you reimagine a Florida where Black people are able to live in freedom, equity, and authenticity. We are your hosts, Jamal STEELE and
Hale Morissette. Hey.
And we are taking this time to dive into all things Black politics and Black culture. Let's just jump right into it because people are falling into place. So, all right. First and foremost, before we begin, we would like to take an opportunity to address the fact that at the time of this recording, we have lost a great icon in U.S. congressional spaces in the form of Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Sheila Jackson Lee, awesome individual. 2023 actually ran to be the mayor of Houston. Great loss in our community. Great loss for the House of Representatives. Does any of our other guests on the call want to touch on such matter before we get into what I like to refer to as the series, not season, the series finale of America? Thoughts from others?
Hi. Hi, Michele.
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm in my car, so I don't know if I'm supposed to say that on the podcast, but here we are. So no, it was incredibly shocking. I actually had spent a lot of time with her actually in 2022 when I was running for Congress because I was endorsed by the Congressional Black Caucus. So at all of their events, their little clutches and stuff, I was able to really have actually some really intentional time with her. And she was hilarious. She's funny. She was shady as hell, but just brilliant and really understood and got Black people. And it's just, it's a great loss. It's a great loss. And especially with everything that's going on, it's like, are we on Earth 2? I want to go to Earth 3 where this doesn't happen. But yeah, so just most certainly prayers for her family and condolences because it is a huge loss.
I second that. She was a fierce advocate for the Crown Act, George Floyd Act as well. She represented the fourth largest city in the country and also a city that happens to be under assault by its Republican governor. She's gonna be sorely missed. And, I would be remiss in saying that I'm not worried about what's next. I would imagine her Republican opponents are foaming at the mouth to have somebody from their side representing Houston, Texas.
Absolutely. Thoughts from anyone else?
I'll chime in, Jamal. I find it extremely poignant that the last tweet that the Congresswoman sent was going down swinging for our sitting president. And it's just such a testament to who she was, not only for Black people in this arena, not only for Texans in this arena, but just for people and just for what's right and what's fair. And I think we would do well to her legacy to kind of heed her last words.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Fall for the Crown Act was one of the congresswomen who was instrumental in helping to make Juneteenth a federal holiday in these here United States. As I stated before, saw that her city felt that her city needed her more than the country did, and tried to win the mayoral seat for the city of Houston. Huge loss, but so let me so let me preface this by saying that we value our elders, and we do not wish for our elders to ascend into being ancestors until it is their time. But I feel like a lot more are going to, because we are in the midst of what can be considered to be one of the craziest moments in U.S. political history. And so, with me knowing that, it was only right for me to say, hey guys, can't wait till August to have this discussion. We gotta come back now. And coming back for this special episode, which will be entitled Everything's Fine. When you see the graphic being released for this for said episode, it's gonna have the little dog sitting in the midst of fire, and he's gonna be saying everything's fine, because it's not. Let's be perfectly clear and perfectly honest. It is not fine. And so, since it isn't fine, I felt like that it would be best for us to assemble, as DJ Hale so eloquently stated, the hood political Avengers, if you will, for this momentous occasion known as the series finale, not season, series finale of America. So we have Rhyane Wagner, National Policy Manager for Black Voters Matter, and friend to the podcast. Of course, we have DJ Hill, Democratic nominee for Florida State House District 2. Go to votemorissette.com. We need the money, good brothers and sisters. This is gonna be a long one. Sis don't have no primary opponent, so we're going straight to November. So votemorissette.com, vote Morissette on all of your social medias. We have
Hale.com is also active. Takes you right there.
Let's go. Runlikehell.com. Listen, I like that one a lot better. It's straight and to the point. We have resident Florida Black girl, and somebody that I just stepped out of one of the dopest events that you have ever been to in your life, the Civic and Sexy Brunch. September, we come in with Broward County. More information as it comes. Lindsay Pollard is in the house with us. We have the illustrious and awesome lawyer extraordinaire, Jonathan Garrett Green of J. Green and Associates. And we have one of the most marvelous state house reps that you will ever know in your life. The incomparable Michele K. Rayner is in the house with us. And for a time like this, I feel like we need allies to speak from an ally perspective. And so we have educator extraordinaire Jacob Schulz in the house with us, ladies and gentlemen. So let's begin with July 13th, 2024. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, at the time of this recording, it has literally been a week since your boy and mine, Donald Josephus Trump. That man's real middle name is John I just like to call him Josephus because it is very, very appropriate.
I just want to say that we have to stop giving people middle names because I start believing them because that the man middle name is Dion. And it's really Dion. That's all
No, okay. Before we get to the makings of the series finale of America, I like to address the fact that the only reason I know that Ron DeSantis's middle name is Dion is because of the illustrious state representative Michele Rayner. Listen, every time sis get on MSNBC or CNN or whatnot, she has to make sure that we know this man's name is Ronald. Say it for me, good sis.
Ronald Dion DeSantis.
I love
the crazy part is it's spelled D-I-O-N. And there's another illustrious legislator who should not share this name, but Chevron Dion Jones, D-I-O-N. And the day that I found that out, I called Chevron at 6:30 in the morning. I said, really? He said, I know you lying. I said, no. But that's what Ronald's mother calls him. And so that's what she named him. And I decided that's what I'm going to call him because he needs to get his ass whooped. And when my mother would whip my ass, she would say, Michele Rayner. So I just feel when I have my foot up his ass all the time, I'm just going to say his whole name. That's how I do it.
Listen,
Rayner, you are not on mute. You're not on mute.
We're going to call you Dion.
You're not on mute. You're not on mute.
Listen, when it was made known to me that Chevron's middle name was Dion, I said to Michele at first, I was like, come on, you playing. And she was like, no, like, Chevron's middle name is Dion. So I was like, what? This is America, as the ghetto prophet Donald Glover, known to us all as Childish Gambino, so eloquently stated. This is America, ladies.
Not anymore. He retired it.
I know. And that album is wonderful, by the way. If you haven't heard it, it came out yesterday. Bando Wave. It is the last album under the Childish Gambino moniker. But yes, please go play it. It's miraculous. So let's get into July 13th, 2024. Donald Trump presidential campaign rally in Pennsylvania. All of a sudden, you just hear this little, it wasn't even a huge shot, y'all. It was like a whiz. And then the next thing you know, this man is holding his ear like he got stung by a mosquito. And then boom, Secret Service swarming in. And the next thing we all knew, assassination attempt. And it was like, what are we doing? Like, so now we're trying to kill people close to 6 months before, well, actually 4 or 5 months before chaos. Because any of us that are organizers on this call, which pretty much all of us, any of us that are organizers on this call knows that November the 5th is going to be utter and complete chaos. But they was like, oh, let's start the chaos early. Let's start it early. And so we then go through this week's events of the RNC, where you have the likes of Amber Rose, Linda McMahon, who is the ex-wife of Vincent Kennedy McMahon, the former owner of the World Wrestling Entertainment Company, and not to be outdone by her, the incomparably racist Hulk Hogan. All are speakers at said RNC. Not to be outdone, of course, as Lindsay stated. Kid Rock, Matt Gaetz and Kevin McCarthy was giving us fight night. Was giving us fight night at the RNC.
Can I say this? Matt
Yes.
Gaetz and I went to college together. We were classmates for real, had majors together. We're the same age. One of us looks like a desperate housewife on her 5th facelift, and one of us doesn't because, oh, wait, black doesn't crack.
Period.
Period. My friend posted it on my thing. She's like, we all went to college at the same time. 2 of us are aging backwards. One of us is not. Just wanted to my little petty moment there.
Listen, and all of us that are on this call that represents the Pensacola constituency of this call, hates that man's guts and wishes him well and hopes he gets another slushy thrown at him as he walks out of a building.
No,
yep, I said it.
No, that's wrong though, because I remember when I got hit with a water bottle at a certain Confederate monument rally, Alonzo Hicks, 67-year-old white man, got off 6-0 with video evidence. But Matt Gaetz want to call and use federal dollars and state dollars to prosecute someone for a slushie. But I digress.
Taxpayers' money, using taxpayers' money to allegedly prosecute people out here throwing slushies. I digress. I also like to point out that one thing that I have never said in life and will continue to never say in life is, you know who I want to take political advice and knowledge from? Amber Rose. Like,
Check must have been cut on the spot.
Listen. If Cardi B,
I mean, that rap video was fire though.
If
Don't
Cardi,
act like it wasn't.
Listen,
Don't act like it wasn't.
Horrendous. If Cardi B had not went the way of how she did as a rapper and influencer extraordinaire, you all know what Cardi B would have done. Cardi B would have went to St. John's University and majored in political science. I'm taking political advice from Cardi B before I take it from Amber Rose. But I digress. So our own, some of us that's on this call, own political party, the DNC, because I like to state this as we continue on. BLKFLA podcast is a podcast that is independent of any organizations that some on this call may be getting checks from on the 1st and the 15th. Moving on. So not to be outdone, the DNC in 2 weeks will be in the great city of Chicago, Illinois. The Democrats said, hey, RNC, hold our beer. We are getting numerous reports from insider aides to the Obama team that your favorite president and mine, President Barack Hussein Obama, I'm gonna say his whole name, Michelle. I'm gonna say it. Barack Hussein Obama has stated, maybe not, that Joseph Robinette Biden should possibly step out of the race. Not only that, we've also gotten additional reports that state that by the end of this weekend, at the time of this recording, said Joseph Robinette Biden may actually be stepping out of the race. However, the issue becomes that we are hearing from insider aides and insiders to the Democratic Party, as well as the Biden-Harris campaign, that if President Biden does step out, does resign from running for said seat that he is currently in right now, the National Democratic Party may not necessarily want to put up Vice President Kamala Harris, I'm gonna give her the same respect that you gave us, gave a good sis. Vice President Kamala Harris, they may not want to put her up as the perennial nominee for the Democratic Party for the president of the United States, thereby ignoring the biggest voting base that the Democratic Party has, which 6 out of 7 of us that's on this call represents, aka Black people. Let's start off. This is the way to properly introduce the series finale that is the United States of America. I have 2 candidates that are on this call. My first question to those candidates are, how is the proverbial show, that is known as the 2024 presidential campaign affecting the 2 of you possibly entering said seats in the Florida State House of Representatives, 2 key seats that we all need you to be in? I'm going to start with the one that is the incumbent and sitting in said seat, the illustrious state rep, Michele Rayner.
It's the agitation. It's the agitation I feel. It's like the literal agitation. So I'm in a safe seat. I'm going to be fine. So my concern is for the other folks that are in tougher races that are not going to be fine, right? I'm in a D plus 45. Sure. Great. If I don't get reelected, thank you. Like, okay. Like, the math is there. My concern is a lot of things. My concern is folks who are in tougher races, folks like, even an incumbent Lindsay Cross, who's in a D plus 4, right? And, or, other people who are in tough primaries that have, I'm thinking about Representative Ashley Gant that is in a primary with a DeSantis Democrat. So I'm thinking about, how does this kind of work? How does this, what we're doing on talking about family business? Because, my mama used to say, you keep in-house. You don't talk about all this stuff outside, but the stuff that we are talking about outside, how is that going to play? And then also thinking about, like, how does it affect specifically Black women in this process, Black women who are not only electeds, but Black women who are operatives, Black women who are a part of this work. I have a lot of feelings. I have a lot of things to say. I have a lot of feelings about how non-Black people are trying to weigh in to tell Black people what they should or should not do. But we're going to get there. For me, it is concerning for folks who are in tough races that we don't think. We have these conversations and we're thinking so high at the top of the ticket, but baby, you got to protect legislatures. You got to flip legislatures. You got to make sure city councils are where they need to be. You got to make sure county commissions are where they need to be. Shit, you got to make sure the supervisor of elections isn't going to work to overturn an election. What are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? What are the drugs? Give them to me. I want to be in Delulu. I would like to be in Delulu land. What are the drugs? We don't think. We are just so worried about these high-level conversations, not realizing protecting democracy starts on the local level, starts in the city hall, starts in the county commission, starts with the supervisor of election, then goes to the state legislatures. But what do I know? I'm just a Black woman that's a simple country lawyer from Clearwater. I don't know too much. Y'all got it.
This is why the Hood Organizing Avengers was assembled for the series finale of the United States of America. So Michele stated everything's fine as far as her seat is concerned. Haley Morissette, you on the other hand, you are running against an incumbent. You are running against an incumbent that has been in that seat since 2018. To give you clarification, Rep Rayner, Haley Morissette is also running for Florida State House District 2, currently occupied by your friend and mine, State House Rep Alexander Andrade.
I have a lot of
Robert
words.
Alexander.
Robert Alexander. First off, thank you. I have a lot of words, but I'm not gonna say them. Beat his ass.
Talk.
We'll talk offline.
I would love to.
I appreciate it. I'll send her your number, Michele. So with that, yes, Mr. Reverse Racism. Awesome stuff. So with that, this situation may prove to be a bit more harder for you because, as we all know, that state house seat is historically been a bit on the conservative side, and within the last couple of years, super MAGA. And so, how is this affecting? How is the series finale of it all affecting your situation as it pertains to your election? And also your thoughts on the series finale of the United States of America.
Well, I want to go and make sure that I mention this. It would be remiss of me as an Afrofuturist not to mention that today is July the 20th, 2024, which begins
this is why I didn't mention
it. With prophetess Octavia Butler. Down this series of events of a very terrible conservative split where we all just go to the moon, hopefully. But outside of this, outside of all of that, I do mention that to say that, you know, we've been set up. The seat that I am looking to occupy, and the seat that I will occupy, let's get that right. Yes, there are people in the mind state, because you know me, I'm a social worker. I love talking to people. So they're in the mind state of like, what are we doing with this presidential life? We don't even want a president at this point. I think we just need to be single for a little bit. That is something I've heard continuously over and over again. But I will be honest that people, including these Republicans up here, like there's a couple of different classes of like Republicans, right? There's the ones that are the MAGA people. And then there's the ones that got some sense. And they're like, all of this in the news and all of this sensationalism and being a part of this and that, I don't like all that. I don't understand why we're going through all this. This seat historically was Democratic up until like the 90s. And so with the flip of it, I actually would be occupying as the first Black woman in Northwest Florida in this seat, which is still astounding to me, but at the same time not, because I know my roots and where I'm from, and that's not really surprising. But so all of the talk around like the presidential race has been, I don't want to say a distraction because I feel like that feeds into like conspiracy theories. But also, you know, if you talk about conspiracy theories and you talk about half of the things the FBI has done, you would think that, you know, that's all conspiracy theories. So it's been like a really big distraction for people and they're just worried. And I don't think anybody is even, I won't say anybody. I don't think a lot of people are even invested in voting with party lines these days. They're just all over the place. There are so many registered independents that almost in my area that it matches the number of registered Democrats. I flipped them too. I'm good. Like, so I have actually been feeling really confident. I know what I need to do, what my ground game is, and to do the things. But the conversation has always come back to, are we warriors for real or are we bitches? Like all of that outside the house type thing, like talking about this and what we need to do, all y'all doing is this infighting, y'all scared. Like what you scared for? It's really time to put on. It's really time to get to work. Like we've been up against these things, and y'all always wait till the 11th hour to do this. And yes, I will say that watching and hearing the discourse around, well, we're not ready for Kamala, so we just got to figure out something else. I feel like I have went my whole life with being a person who has had to be the mama and take care of everybody else, and then when it came time to be recognized by my title, people wasn't ready, but they was ready for me to take on the work. We aren't doing that. We don't need to be doing that. That makes no sense. And it shows that you're weak, willing to have no backbone. Get it together so that we could all do this together, unified. We got too much to do. So yeah. And for all my Black women, Black non-binary folks who are out here doing the things and running for offices, it's okay. We got each other. We do have the support. But this national narrative is really being driven by just something else. I don't even know.
I want to thank you first and foremost for lifting up all of the things, lifting up all of the things. I want to bring Ryan into the space. The policies that have been passed within the last, let's just give it 8 to 10 years. The policies that have been passed within the last 8 to 10 years have honestly kind of set us up for this moment. It set us up for this moment. And so looking at this from a policy perspective, from a legislation perspective, how do we address what we could be potentially walking into in 2 weeks in Chicago, from a legislation perspective, because it's gonna literally be open season if President Biden decides, I'm out, y'all handle this.
Democrats should have had their goddamn plan together before this. I get so tired of the party just, relying on the voter. Like that's not gonna work in these times, right? Like if they have Project 2025, what you got in place of that, right? Y'all should have been working on this 4 years ago. You have 4 years to future-proof this country, and you sat on your ass. And now Black people's vote and turnout, even if we had the turnout from 2020, because everybody was sitting at home watching Tiger King and drinking, that is not going to be enough. We still have an electoral college, and we still have things that are reliant on the filibuster. Like there's so much stuff. And I haven't even gotten to the part where we should have been talking term limits for SCOTUS long time ago. We should have 13 justices, right? We've expanded the court before. I don't want to hear about what we can't do. We have to be bold now. And long term, I would recommend us switching to proportional representation so we're not in this goddamn mess again. Right? It's very clear that folks did not want Shady Pines Part 2 4 years ago. They're like, okay, we're going to give you this time, but y'all need to be working on 2024 now, right? You got Citizens United that's allowing billionaires to play in states they don't even live in, right? The DEI stuff, that's David Ackerman. Like when I tell you Republicans play the long game and we are constantly playing catch up, right? You had a coalition. Like, had you done what you were supposed to do to preserve the Obama coalition, because I don't know what to call it, you let it fall apart. Had you not done that, had you nurtured it like you were supposed to, we could have done what France did in 3 weeks. Okay? Last year should have been a time like, we need to primary Joe. But instead, you treated him like he was some kind of king that was owed this. Right? That was owed this. I don't want to hear about 2016 either. It was white liberals that didn't take Donald Trump seriously. Black people been warning white folks for the longest. Shelby v. Holder, we told y'all once they get the Voting Rights Act, they're going to come for repro rights. They're going to come for Dobbs. Like this is not, they are playing the long game. We playing checkers, they playing chess. I have never seen a party so incapable of not taking defeat out of the jaws of victory. And yes, it's a little late in the game to try and switch. It is, but you need to figure out who the fuck is going to replace these people. And I'm sick of people saying Kamala can't do it. My issue ain't about her ability. I know she can, and nothing pleases me more than a Black woman scaring the fuck out of these white folks. But I will acknowledge my issue with her has nothing to do with her ability. I know she's very capable. But who are you going to have? You gonna have Buttigieg? You gonna have Westmore? Like what? Like before you do a thing and try to burn it down, how you plan in place, or you're planning to fail?
I mean, because y'all don't want the person who pretty much runs the fourth largest economy in the world to be your presumptive nominee if y'all get rid of
what Biden. But what is wild to me, he's been the boldest one. Gavin been saying what the Democrats as a whole should have been saying last year. Like, it shouldn't take the governor of California to put a fire under y'all asses. He been the only one holding Ron DeSantis. He didn't have to do that debate with Ron. He did it for funsies. he had time. He said, I'll do this because I want to show you what you could have versus what you got, right? And it's not lost on me that most people are fed up with both parties. There's a reason MPA numbers are growing. Okay, and we don't have time to, what my granny would say, slowpoke and pussyfoot and lollygag. Okay, Black people, Black and brown folks know what's coming. We've been here before, except this time it will actually impact white folks, white liberals to be exact. Okay, I am not joking when I say this country is on its way to The Handmaid's Tale and a little bit of Fahrenheit 451, two books that are banned in the state of Florida.
That one.
Right? Okay, it is not lost on me that they sat down at the Heritage Foundation and said, how can we preserve our power? Right? Because this country will not be white dominant anymore. Let's just talk about what it is. And so Democrats spent the last 4 years trying to get in the minds of racists. Why? You're going to stress yourself out. It's 72 million people that voted for Trump twice. Racism was not a deal breaker. I don't know why Democratic Party is trying to convince them the error of their ways. They showed you who they were. Believe them.
That one. Lindsay, I'm gonna come to you, and then I'm gonna come to you next, Jacob. Lindsay, from someone that is in the that's in the campaign building spaces, like you have experience and current experience working on campaigns. You are working on campaigns where the series finale is a huge factor in how you have to shift strategy when it comes to the campaigns that you are working on. Touch on that, good sister, on this fine morning.
All right, so I apologize to everyone here who is not Rep Rayner and Jay, because they are fully aware that your girl will get on a tangent, she will get on a soapbox, and then she won't get off. So bear with me, because I have a lot of thoughts around what is happening right now. Firstly, thank you, Rep Rayner. Thank you, future Representative Morissette, for going out there, fighting the good fight, doing the thing when no one else will do the thing, because that's just what Black women do. Thank you, Jay, for opening the space for all of us. Ryan, you are a gift. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And also, Jay, thank you for just letting the Black women speak first. No offense to Jacob and Jonathan. I know that they're going to have good thoughts, but Black women are the ones on the front lines, right? And we always are. So I find it super fascinating that it's the Black women who are holding the line on this thing, because two Black women who are dear to me, I'm just 1/3 of the Florida Black girls. The other 2/3 are smarter than I, more gifted than I, and just see the world, one, as it could be, and what it should be, right? Like, so I'm the world as it is third of our group, and 1/3 is what it could be, and the other third is what it should be.
Right.
And the could be third, Maya Brown, if y'all don't know her, you should, and shame on you.
Shout out to, and by the way, shout out to the powerful Maya Brown and Jasmine Rogers, who make up the other 2/3 of the Florida Black girls.
They would be here today if they could.
Yeah.
So I'm representing us today. The could be third, Maya Brown, said on our own podcast about 2 months ago that we have to acknowledge why Joe Biden, one of the reasons why Joe Biden is doing this in the first place. It is so the Democratic Party wouldn't destroy itself from the inside. And look what we're doing. Because the quiet part out loud is somewhere in the back of Joey B's mind, after serving 8 years with the first Black president this country has seen, and now serving another 3.5 with the first Black vice president this country has seen, is y'all don't want a woman, y'all don't want a Black woman, so now I gotta run again because I can't just hand it to her because you're not gonna let me. And I'm gonna say that again for the people who didn't catch it the first time.
Please.
I can't step away after 4 years like I said I would, because y'all knuckleheads aren't gonna let me, because you're gonna make a mess, because you're not gonna let Kamala Harris have it. Kamala Desi Harris, our sitting vice president, former senator, former attorney general, HBCU graduate, you're not going to let her. You're not going to let her have it. And I'm not talking about America. I'm talking about Democrats. Because if we are going to spend all this time on Gavin Newsom, comma, governor, we're going to spend all this time on J.D. Pritzker, comma, governor. She's right there. And she is the rightful heir to this. And you're not going to let her have it. So now I got to sit here. I got to drag Dr. Jilly from Philly with me because y'all aren't going to let her have it. And look what we've done. We've proven him right. And Black women see what he was trying to do. And now we're the ones holding the line. 1,400 women, Black, have signed an open letter. Joe, we're not gonna let them do this to you. We're not. And I just find it fascinating that in our complete lack of strategy in all of this, our complete lack of strategy, one, you all unironically keep telling Black women that we're the ones who are holding democracy together, and we are telling you undeterred what we want, and you're just like, y'all don't know. You don't get it. We're just going to work around you. All right, bet. This is the fight you want? Because if Black women are leaving you, we're gone forever. Talk to someone who has been left by a Black woman. For real, she doesn't come back. She's done. So keep forcing our hands. Because I'm a party girl. I will own that. I don't believe we really, truly can accomplish big gains until we can make the party function. So I spend a lot of my time trying to help the party function so that we can get more Michele Rayners, we can get more Haley Morrissettes, because the party doesn't function. We have to fix it. So I spend a lot of my time just trying to fix it. So you don't want somebody like me leaving. Because I still think it can work. A lot of people don't think it can work and they're gone.
At all.
But I don't think we get anywhere unless it works. But I'm willing to leave if this is something that you all are going to keep pushing. I'm willing to go. another thing in our lack of strategy and our lack of vision around this whole thing is, all right, let's say y'all do force Joe Biden to go ahead and drop out. And then you do force this weird kind of open primary with, and I'm not even going to say 4 months ago, 2 months to go, because you have to do a lot of work in the next 2 months if we're going to have even the slightest puncher's chance to beat Donald Trump and Republicans. So you have until September to really get it together. The gag is, okay, you've got this new person now. The books have closed on a lot of the ballots and the qualifying. So how do you get this person on the ballot without being a write-in? Because voters aren't going to write anybody in. We know that. If you ever worked with a write-in candidate, it is a very slim chance you're going to get that person elected. So how do you get this person on the ballot if the books are closed? And let's say that you do. That doesn't mean that Biden automatically falls off the ballot. And if you've got uninformed voters with these two candidates with ginormous name ID, guess who they're going to vote for over Gavin Newsom, who they've never heard of, or J.D. Pritzker, who they've never heard of. So it still didn't work, what you were trying to do, because now you've split the vote a bunch of ways, because you still got Kennedy out there that people aren't talking about. All right, cool. How does this person raise enough money in the next 2 months? How do they build a ground game? How do they even get a team in place? How do they get a campaign manager at this late date?
Because all of the things that are in the Biden-Harris campaign team doesn't automatically shift over to this new person when they become the nominee.
They literally only transfer to LOL her, because legally she's the only one who's a part of this world. She's the only one with access to the money. She's the only one who's with access to the team. She's the only one with access to the super PACs and the DNC accounts. So you're doing all this because you're afraid of the Black lady, except the Black lady don't have any of the access to it if you're going to do this. The gag is you want to do all of these things without thinking it all the way through. You didn't get all the way to the end of the line to make any of it work. And the first thing you're going to do when it all blows up in your face is blame Joe Biden for not getting out earlier, except he stayed in because he knew you were going to do this.
Stay right there.
You can actually
wait, no, and then the
actually blame.
Then the white leg groups are going to blame us and Black men like they did last time, and I about clowned on everybody on that call.
Which I'm so glad that the Black women, shout out to co-founder of Black Voters Matter, Latasha Brown, because you know I'm obsessed with her. Jay, you know, she was on Joy Reid. Black women are here to tell you right now, don't you come at our door, because we're telling you what we want right now. This is not going to be a surprise to you on November 6th when you wake up thinking it was a bad dream. No, we want to level set with you now. Do not do this, because we will not support whatever shenanigans you got going on. So if you want our vote, you value our vote, you value the work that we're doing, the investment that we make, do the thing, sit down, shut up, because there's no way, especially after that rambling 92-minute acceptance speech from the RNC, you cannot tell me that our sweet old man who might be in cognitive decline is a worse bet than their old man in cognitive decline. And nobody is breaking rank on that side with Trump. In fact, he's bringing people home. His own running mate hated him and might still secretly, and yet he came home. Hey, Nikki Haley, governor, secretary, whatever she was, Demerara Haley, her, who just 3 months ago told y'all he was in cognitive decline, and you can't trust him with the nuclear codes. Oh, well, he has my unwavering support. He has my full endorsement. They're coming home. And this is what we're doing in July 2024, the year of our Lord, with democracy on the line, with a 900-page document telling them that they want to destroy democracy and exactly how they're going to do it and how they're going to recruit people to help them. And this is what we're doing. This is our strategy. We're an embarrassment. And this is coming from the party girl.
An
this is coming from somebody who...
I'm sorry, an embarrassment.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry.
I
don't know if you saw my video yesterday. Literally everything you said, I was screaming on the internet about this. I was screaming on the internet about this. There's not one thing you said wrong. Literally.
Go to Michele. Go to Michele for FL if you want to see the full video that Rep. Rayner dropped on us.
But then to Ryan and Lindsay's point, I then have white progressives saying, well, I don't like the fact that you said this. First off, stay out of Black people's business. Number one, stay out of our business. Number two, then I also have white presenting liberals talking about you're out of touch with your district, Black people. And thank God, Garrett from the Grill wrote an article with LaTosha Brown talking about it will be a betrayal. But y'all, stop telling us what's best for us. Stop telling us what's best for you, because we're the ones that dragged you across the line and saved democracy. Stop telling us what's best for us.
Same progressives did not believe us when we said during the Freedom Rides, to be exact, they coming for Dobbs. They coming for it.
What do we know? We're just Black women that time and time again that y'all call on.
If I am a right-wing crazy and I want to, my first step is to take out the Voting Rights Act, all that 70 years worth of legislative fight that our elders, okay, and then I'm going to come for the other legal precedent. I would not be surprised if they came after marriage equality and Loving v. Virginia. Clarence, I ain't talking to you, brother, because that white woman wouldn't want nothing to do with you unless you were on track to be a Supreme Court judge, baby. She wouldn't have paid your Black ass no attention otherwise, okay? I said what I said because I know what I'm going to get from these white supremacist women and men. But these white liberals, y'all the same ones that demanded Stacey Abrams take over the DNC. Maybe that's not what she wanted for herself. And the DNC is a shit show. I don't want to clean up your mess. If in fact you know that we are the most dedicated, loyal bloc, and you ain't shown us no kind of deference or respect ever at all, and now you want Stacey Abrams to take over the DNC. No, I'm glad she didn't take it and didn't want it. I'm not going to take some breadcrumbs for that. I wanted to be governor of Georgia. I don't want to take over this shit show of a party because y'all don't know how to plan for the future and future-proof this thing.
Ryan, louder, because, I'm sorry.
The house is on fire. Wait a minute, the house is on fire. A fire you set, and then you're like, Black people help us. Even though
Ryan, I'm so glad you brought that up.
That was not what we cannot organize our way out of this now. And we warned you 4 years ago that this was going to be a reality, that Fat Nixon was going to siphon off parts of the Latino community, particularly the ones that want to be white so bad, Marco Rubio. They have found a way to infiltrate certain groups. I'm not saying all Latinos. Please don't misunderstand me. But there's a certain segment that's anti-Black, this idea that whiteness will protect them, this cognitive dissonance around their view of socialism versus what's actually happening in front of their eyes with Fat Nixon, Donald Trump, that's what I call him. And I also call him the emperor with no clothes.
Yes.
But we had this coalition, y'all. Barack Obama handed it. Hey, when I leave, here's what hey, you want this? You gonna nurture it after I'm gone? What did we do? Nothing. It'll maintain itself. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Like I said before, and what Lindsay alluded to, Yeah, I would love, and I think we are perfectly capable of doing what France did in 3 weeks. But guess what's missing? And again, as an aside, there are a lot of European countries that use what we call ranked choice voting and whatnot. So, I mean, I acknowledge that there's also reality in some of these other countries.
Right.
But besides that, we had a coalition where we could have done that 3-week thing, but we let the coalition die. And to our detriment. I mean, and I could even take it back to the congressional losses in 2010 that gave us Marco Rubio. Mm-hmm. Like, we were so distracted by the Oval Office and not really thinking through that these crazy people have, for the last 40 years, taken over Southern legislature, super majorities, made sure redistricting worked in their favor.
Right.
Okay, this didn't happen yesterday. This is the Southern strategy on steroids 2.0. Richard Nixon would just be like, oh my God, why not think of that shit? Can you imagine if Richard Nixon had the foresight and social media? Like, I could sit here and make the parallels to the years between World War I and World War II in Germany. I could tell you that Hitler was inspired by the Jim Crow South to do what he did to Jews in Europe. He had a picture of Henry Ford in his office. Henry Ford was a known anti-Semite. He wrote an incredibly anti-Semitic newsletter called The International Jew, which is where a lot of these crazies get their bullshit ideas about supposedly Jews running the world and just wild shit, right? And America inspired that crazy man in Germany. Mm-hmm. And he took over it was a weakened, it was the Weimar Republic. I could get into it if I really wanted to, but he knew that he had to take over from the inside. And once they formed that coalition government, President Hindenburg could not govern without Hitler. And Hitler knew that. And then there's a mysterious Reichstag fire that everybody thinks he caused anyway. But like, we're seeing this. This man is using his shooting to galvanize his folks. And if I hear one more Democrats of political violence has no place, I tell that to the people who suffer at the hands of police brutality on a regular basis. Don't talk to me about political violence. You all made sure
a Republican shot him.
Yes.
A Republican shot at him.
Yes.
We keep buying into this.
Stop it. And this man built his whole career.
So many levels, Ryan.
This man built his whole career
so many times
off of political violence, off of promoting it. What was it? Stand back, stand up, stand back, whatever the hell he said. He's behind the whole insurrection. And you want me to just not bring that up after he shot?
Let's not forget his full-page ad in the New York Times against the Exonerated Five.
The Exonerated Five, yes.
So I just want to let you know. I want to let you know your faves. So you can look at mine, Rep. Gantz, and Rep. Nixon's statements after, and it literally took 3 people to draft my statement because I was going to move on with my life. Because when it happened, I was doing a hip hop bar crawl in DC, and I was like, "Oh, play Tribe Called Quest." I was moving on with my life because it is hard to be empathetic for a person that literally wishes that I don't exist.
Yes.
It is hard to be empathetic and not think that she is being the biggest stunt queen ever for a person that has time and time again has literally called for the extinction of Black and brown people, the extinction of LGBTQ people. It is hard. So when Democrats started democrating, what they always do with that bullshit ass statement.
Bless their heart. Because you so busy trying to do the right thing, and these crazy people about to take the country from y'all.
The whole country.
But we want to be good people on both sides.
No,
No more of that. Let's
we need
not
to start. We need to start
because it's
knucking and
giving good
bucking.
people on both sides. It's giving good people on both
It's
sides.
giving all lives matter. That's what it's giving.
It's giving all lives matter.
So, in touching on one of the many things that Ryan has brought up, white liberals and white progressives have essentially looked us in the face and been like, "Hey, so y'all don't know what y'all doing." One of the few that does not who's on this episode with us, Jacob. How, especially from an educator's perspective, because that is what you are. How, from an educator's perspective, how do you have this conversation with said white liberal and white progressive friends about how not to enter
do all that
said spaces? Because here's the thing. White liberals and white progressives at times expect for us to have this conversation with them about what they need to do to fix said problem. So how do you have these conversations? And what are your thoughts on the series finale of the United States of America?
Yeah, it's like hearing everybody talking with how, now we're in this crisis with Biden and Harris, if we're going to keep them or not. And, it's like people like Newsom and Pritzker who are trying to run to the front of the line now. And it's like Harris is right there. She can debate better than Biden can at this point. So with that, and I think looking back, it really was maybe because the 2022 midterms had gone a lot better for Democrats than they had expected it to, keeping the Senate and everything. So I think that kind of maintained that mindset, like, oh, we're fine, nothing's going on, just keep it moving till 2024. And then it all hit the fan like 2 weeks ago. And then last week it went even worse. So I think with that too, like how you guys were saying, I think now it's almost like how white liberals and suburbanites, like they took all the credit for 2020 being a victory, kind of like we're thanking everyone in the suburbs of Atlanta, not people in Atlanta itself, really. And then we're saying that the same thing with Arizona and Sidney McCain bringing home Arizona for Biden, and it's all the glory and all the thanks went to the white liberals and the moderate Republicans, things like that. So I think navigating that conversation, both my parents are white liberals as well. So I think sometimes we get caught into that conversation as well. It's like, yeah, we're in a blue area, but, most of the blue voters are in downtown Orlando, and in that area, they're not living out in Windermere, Winter Garden, things like that. Same with Jacksonville flipping a few of the areas like near the beaches. Like I think Neptune Beach is now leaning blue, but it's like, that's not what tilted all of Duval County blue in 2020. So I think there's like this, I don't know if I'd call it outright racism, but I think they're kind of like saying, well, we deserve all the credit for 2020 and 2022, and we're going to do what we want in 2024. So I think they're going to keep Biden and Harris in the ticket going forward, like how they were saying the Republicans can challenge at the Supreme Court if they switch the names this quickly, like names on the ballots, things like that. So I think it'd be better to keep him. But yeah, definitely the conversation is a little iffy right now. A lot of white liberals, they're saying the same thing I am, like, they are taking more credit than they deserve, things like that as well.
Listen, so I just want it to be known and understood and pointed out that a white liberal stated on this podcast that white liberals and white progressives took entirely too much credit for the thing that happened in 2020. What was the thing that happened in 2020? Oh, the person that's in the office now is there. Raphael Warnock being a senator in the state of Georgia. Ossoff being a senator in the state of Georgia, they definitely took absolutely too much credit for those two. And that is the thing that is going to put us in a fire keg if we don't get this under control with the next.
I know. I feel like we're that, like in SpongeBob, where they're like, we did it, we saved the city, and like the city's still burning in the background, pretty much.
That one. Jonathan, Black men feel as though this isn't as serious as we're trying to make it out to be. How do we, and when I say we, I explicitly mean we and many other Black men that are in organizing spaces like this, how do we have the conversations with Black men to let them know, oh, you're saying this, wow, there's a huge inferno burning around you, because in 2 weeks at the DNC, the game could possibly change.
And thank you, Jamil, for having me here and allowing this space for us. Essentially, what I would say, so when it comes to revolution, a revolution is a successful rebellion, whereas a rebellion is a failed revolution. A lot of us, we always look to the successful Haitian revolution, but also we have to look at Grenada. Maurice Bishop, he used guerrilla warfare, which in this day and age, we don't have to use guerrilla warfare. We just have to go live on social media, and that is your weapon in this day and age. But also, if you use Maurice Bishop's tactics of politics in addition to education. So, and you see from Project 2025, that's what the conservative base has done, is doing, and is continuing to do. So when you look at revolution and what we are needing to do, this is a call to Black men in a regard of what the women on this call said today. We not only have to protect that voice, but support it, because that voice is representing us when we don't even know it. And in that, it represents everyone when we understand that. So what does this really mean when you see federal laws being rolled back? Does this really mean when you see Project 2025 eradicating federal agencies? And because you have to realize, as a legal professional, understanding history and case law, which is documented legal history, white conservatives, especially from the South, traditionally say that because the Civil War, they don't call it the Civil War, they call it the War of Northern Aggression. Understand what that statement means. It means that from the Confederate South standpoint, the North was aggressive. The Union was aggressive to their policies. So now you see in this day and age, DEI being rolled back for a state's rights to decide. So when you look at the War of Northern Aggression, you have to understand this is how they talk. When you look at the War of Northern Aggression and you roll back, so for instance, the Compromise of 1877, which removed Union troops, if it's going to be a state's rights to decide if slavery exists in your state, because that's what they say was the War of Northern. It wasn't a war over slavery to exist. It was a war over a state's right to decide if slavery exists in that state. So who were the legislators deciding this, especially when you had a people who could not read because it was outlawed and punishable by death, and you couldn't even change the law to know it was a law. So then that's the real Uno reverse card now with DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is because it's the same story, just the different methodology and how it's being implemented. And then also it is us being in a house of fire we integrated into that house of fire because, for instance, I believe it was President Gerald Rudolph Ford Jr., who was born Leslie Lynch King Jr. He said in 1989 that a woman will occupy the office of the president by first being elected vice president and assuming the role of commander-in-chief upon the death of a president. Now, that's scary of a foresight for that to have been 1989, but looking at where we are and the evolution of how everything's still the same, 13th Amendment exception, slavery is abolished except as punishment for crime. Punishment for crime is jail, prison, probation, and parole. They're rolling everything back for a state's rights to decide how they can discriminate. So if you don't understand that, and if you don't understand that it's not just about the presidency, that if you don't go vote a Haley Morissette into office, if you don't go run like hell and make sure Michele Rayner is in office, if you are not voting for the mayor who appoints the police chief, if you're not voting for the sheriff who is in elected office, who is the one signing the checks for the people patrolling your neighborhoods that don't live there, if you don't understand that the legislators and the city council and the county commission are the ones that you elect in creating the local policies that are affected by the state legislators who create the policies from the state that the local have to follow. All of it is a trickle down effect of policy, but it only works if we trickle it up and make them do it.
Jamil, can I just, since we talking about foresight, presidential foresight, it triggered a quote from Lyndon Johnson. If you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on and he'll empty his pockets for you.
The average Trump
is literally what's happening. And Trump is the useful idiot they need to do it. Like,
this is the president that stated this.
Lyndon Baines from Texas, yeah.
But understand, even that is the evolution of the Willie Lynch mentality, because that is putting us in a position where the most economically deprived white person is still better than the best of black people. They didn't say President Barack Obama; they call him Barack. They don't, but they say president for all the other 45 presidents that have existed, 46. Of the 46, he's the only one that doesn't get that acknowledgement and that due respect that,
Hey, I'll add an addendum, Jonathan. They called him Hussein and they said he wasn't from here. Man was born in Hawaii, but he's not an American citizen.
Definitely has
they freaked out over his tan Easter suit.
Definitely have a whole birth certificate.
Well, the one drop rule. What Amber Rose seems to forget is the one drop rule still applies to the base that created it. In these politics that said my grandma who was passing and tell you she was black and blacker and she ain't got to stay black if she don't want to, because she understood what that meant in certain spaces.
Because because let's look at this. The very running mate that Donald Trump has a wife who is Indian, and the very political party that he is the running mate for tore him a new one once they found out he had a brown wife.
But even at the Republican National Convention, you got all these black faces coming up there saying racism doesn't exist in this country anymore. It's a thing of the past. Well, if it's a thing of the past, how you making America great again if that's the thing of the past? You just told on yourself, my guy.
Listen, their reaction to Vivek Ramaswamy was also, he was surprised. I wasn't. I guess he was inquiring about their support level. And they're like, what are you, Muslim? No. Still gonna vote for Trump.
Listen,
and it didn't register with him what they were doing to him.
I blame Vance for not seeing this coming, and I blame Ramaswamy for not seeing this coming. Because guess who saw it? Nimrata, and that's why you call her Nikki.
Correct. Grew up in Orangeburg, South Carolina.
Parents taught at a black school.
Right. Let's talk about
Hello.
Orangeburg, South Carolina. Isn't there an HBCU located there? And when her
Definitely
parents
is.
immigrated, they actually, I think her mom like made dresses or whatnot, and she was a seamstress for the Black professors and their spouses. Let's talk about it. But Nimrata said, "No, baby, it's gonna be Nikki. It's gonna be Nikki."
You call Nimrata Nikki,
It's the need
you call
by-
Payush Jindal Bobby, because let's not forget the former governor of Louisiana.
You taking it back, friend? You are taking it back.
The need to
if JD Vance is taken aback,
the need to assimilate, because their perception of that is, well, if I assimilate, or at least try to because she can't do it through skin color, I'm going to anglicize my name. Maybe they'll treat me better. And she said it herself. That's not what happened. You still are a brown girl in America, whether you want to acknowledge that or not.
Also, let's talk about
they don't have vision. I know they don't.
Let's talk about a certain congressional member who's here in Florida and wants to run for governor. And the reason he married who he married was not because of love. He married because that was the secret weapon to being accepted.
Shout out to Byron Donald. Shout out to Byron.
That's all I'm gonna say. But then still wants to. Never mind. Let me not put the man's business out on the internet.
Has anyone seen Mindy? Miss Mindy, Tim Scott's fiance? Anybody seen her?
That engagement still happening?
I don't know.
Haven't seen her after he no longer was eligible for the vice president.
Oh, he's like a pick-me.
If JD Vance is surprised,
Mitch Mount is like a pick-me on. He's a pick-me
in the Senate. He serves in the Senate.
No, he's a pick-me, like the dating apps. Those women that want to be picked and chose so bad, and then ultimately said, "Man, choosing someone else." He's a pick-me.
I've ran out of.
Listen. He serves in the Senate with not one but two Raphaels.
Yes.
He didn't speak with Raphael, Edward, Ted Cruz about this?
No.
I affectionately call him Herman Munster.
I have ran out of coffee, and we are almost.
Rhyane, please.
and we are almost running out of time. But I'm gonna shoot it to my guy, J. Garrett Green, for final words from him, and then I'll give my final words as well.
Jamil, I just had to say I got a spiritual word real quick for the folks that are going to be that are not necessarily a religious aspect, but just my upbringing, knowing that Daniel's vision to the king of the statue. I feel that the state of America we're at the sand level and it's blowing away. You know, the hardened platinum, the gold, the silver, the clay, the sand, the different layers of the different eras of what would reign supreme over time. We are at that base level. The sand is blowing away, and we at a place where if you're not part of that 144K, folks going to hell in a handbasket.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, MB gang, all of the things. We are at a moment. We had a real moment, and this is not a moment that you want to miss any minute of. 2 weeks from now will be the Democratic National Convention. I keep harping on that because that week is going to be the most crucial week in all of American politics that we will have seen within the last, I'll give y'all 50 to 100 years. Like let's be real honest about this. I think the only other time that we have been in such a real space like this is 1968. It's 68, and we cannot lose sight of if you want to see how chaotic this can get, I will recommend to you to watch Shirley on Netflix. Shout out to Regina King, who did an illustrious job playing the role of the Shirley Chisholm, the original unbossed Black woman that has inspired countless Black women within this political sphere, including the 4 that we had on this episode today. But if you want to see how chaotic this can get, I would advise you to go watch Shirley, because it's probably going to be that times 100. And continue to have the conversation around, let's not focus so much on the federal, and let's continue to focus on the state and local. There are countless school board elections going on in the state of Florida this year, that many of them will be on the August 20th primary ballot. There are countless, every seat in the Florida State House of Representatives is up for election this year. Every single seat. And thanks to the FDP for bumping their head and having some form of sense, every single one of those seats are being challenged, not only in just the state house, but also the state senate as well. Yes. Yeah, they don't, Hale. They don't. They don't get all the credit. Who you know who gets all the credit? Black women, because we keep making sure that we put competent Black women in these seats. Amendments. There are amendments that are on this ballot this year. Amendment 1, if it passes in the state of Florida, will make school board elections partisan. I would hope to think that you all would not allow Amendment 1 to pass in the state of Florida, because if you think that school board elections are bad now, since the KK Karens are coming in, moms for misery, as I like to call them, if you think they're bad now, they're gonna get worse. However, bright side amendments. Amendment 3, if it passes in the state of Florida, will make marijuana recreational instead of medicinal. I know there are countless individuals, some probably on this call who I will not call out, that will think that for that to be a great addition to their lives. I will, however, call out myself being one of them. Amendment 4, if passed in the state of Florida, will completely dismantle the current 6-week abortion ban in the state of Florida and will give us the opportunity for individuals who are able to have children back their right to choose whether that or not they want to have kids, and essentially return bodily autonomy back to the people. I think we all need to be aware of these things, as Ryan and I, as of the time of this recording, have 9 more days left in our said vacation. Yeah, I mean, it's a thing, Ryan, and we really haven't served any real ounce of that vacation, to be honest with you, including these last couple of days. But once we come back from said vacation, it is on like popcorn for the second half of the season that we know to be the United States of America. And hopefully we can get this situation back to where it is a season finale and not a series finale. So this is Jamal STEELE and
DJ Hale, Hale Morissette, Run Like Hell,
showing y'all love and appreciation for joining us on this BLKFLA experience. Stay free, stay blessed, and as always, continue to get acquainted with greatness. We'll see y'all back in August for the second half of our season of BLKFLA, the podcast where the rest of the Florida Black girls will join us for part 2 of their awesome episode. Listen, y'all, it's been great. It's been wonderful. Y'all continue to be blessed. And as always, get acquainted with greatness. We are out.
If revolution was a movie, I'd be theme music. Time to ignite what I spit is light of fluid. Stepping into it, fist raised, such a glorious design. Marching into the biggest fight of our lives. Time to spoil the revolution.